Transportation Committee meeting, and I'd like to turn it over to our host, Joni.
That's right.
Yeah, Joni Kidler. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I think I wanted to just say greetings to the community board, and I believe my colleagues from the Brooklyn Borough Commissioner's Office are on the line. Deputy Borough Commissioner Claudette Workman and your Borough Planner, Teresa Soriano, should be on the call. I had sent a presentation earlier, and I hope it's available. I cannot see your screen right now. I've only been admitted on my phone. But
Hi,
I hope,
Jonian. Yep. Hi, this is Anya from the district office, and I will be sharing my screen for you. So just let me know when you're ready.
okay, I have it up on my home screen, so I'm ready. I don't know why I'm only in on my phone, though. I don't know. I've had some computer issues tonight, but I can go ahead when you're ready.
Oh, okay. Or I can share my screen on your behalf.
Yes,
Right,
that's what I'm
that's what
saying.
Do that,
Okay.
and then Jonine is going to follow along on her screen with her home computer. So,
Okay, so just give me a moment because I'm hosting, but also also sharing my screen. So give me one moment.
Please take your time. You're better at this than I am. There we go.
Okay, give me 1 second to start the slideshow.
Thank you, Anya. So I guess are we ready?
Yep.
Okay, so again, Sean and the members of the community board, thank you for having us tonight. I have a very brief presentation for you tonight. I do know you have another speaker. I didn't realize, Sean, that when I took a look at the presentation, it was actually back in 2019 since I've been out to your board. So I'm happy to be back, and we'll go through this pretty quickly. Could you advance to the next slide? So just by way of introduction, I like to try and give everybody a little bit of background on the entire Division of Bridges. The New York City Division of Bridges, we do have 792 bridges that belong to New York City DOT. And we always say if the bridge has a toll on it, it's not ours. Those belong either to the TBTA or to the Port Authority. Many people don't realize we do also have responsibility for and maintain 6 tunnels in New York City. Park Avenue Tunnel, the First Avenue Tunnel, the Park Avenue, the Battery Park Underpass, etc. There are 6 tunnels that are also our responsibility. And we do have, out of those 792 bridges, 24 are movable bridges. And we lost one, as you know, the Mill Basin Bridge is no longer a movable bridge, it's a fixed bridge. And we also had one other bridge in the Bronx that became fixed as well. There are also 53 culverts in Staten Island that we help DEP maintain with our total staff of almost 800 tradesmen and engineers in the Division of Bridges. Move ahead. So we're up to, I'm not sure which slide that is. For some reason, Onion, we have a different presentation. I'm not sure what happened there. Could you proceed to the next slide? And I'll see if oh, there we go. It's populating now. Thank you.
Okay. All the way through?
Yeah, I'll let it populate. Kind of threw me off there. So this is just a global overview of the organization of the Division of Bridges with Deputy Commissioner Collier on top. You'll see me off to the left as the Executive Director and Chief of Staff for the division. We have 5 operating divisions. Of most interest to you at the Community Board, it's straight down is Dave Dunn, our Bridge Capital Design and Construction Unit. But I know you're also very familiar with our Executive Director of Design, Build, and Emergency Contracts, Tanvi Pandya, who's working on the BQE and is working on some of our emergency contracts. So we can move on to the next slide. So this is actually the information that Sean said that you were most interested in. There are somewhere around 15 or 16 individual bridges in Community District 14. And these are the bridges that are right now in our capital program. Parkside and Ocean are, together because they are physically together. They're together. We're showing them at this point, moving through preliminary design. And we will be coming to you hopefully sometime this year to do a presentation to you on the project. And that's at this point projected to go into construction in 24. Of particular interest, I know to the board, is Beverly Road over the railroad. Beverly Road, along with many other of our design projects, was paused for COVID in May of 2020. We had the bulk of our design projects were put on pause, and the pause has just been lifted now. And so we are looking at reevaluating all of the schedules for the projects that were put on pause. But because we know that this is a very critical bridge that does need to be replaced, we're looking at this point of bringing this along as quickly as we can and getting it ready for construction by 2025. Then the third group of projects is our, component rehab projects. And for those of you who may not have the background on component rehab are bridges that have been identified as having one or a few critical components that have rated poorly in the most recent biennial inspection. And so by addressing the particular defect that's been identified in the inspection, by replacing whatever that particular item is, it'll give the bridge essentially an additional 10 years of service life because the rest of the bridge is in very good condition. And so these 5 have been brought together for the next component rehab contract. And again, the design for these was also posed in May of 2020. And we are beginning to restart now the design for these 5 bridges, and we expect to bring that along more quickly because it was further in design when it was paused. And we expect to be able to bring those to you for a more in-depth conversation later this year with the hope that we'll be ready to go to construction in 2022. So these are the projects that I have right now. I don't know if you want to stop for questions at this point. I only had 2 more slides after this. If you want to continue, or we can do questions now.
You can go ahead.
Okay, so the next slide, this is just a representation of our annual report. Those of you who've been part of the board for a while know that we are required by the New York City Charter to produce an annual condition report on bridges and tunnels every year. We obviously were delayed last year in getting our inspection report from the state, putting the report together. So the report that is the most recent one is the one for 2019. Reports are published the year after the reports are in. So the report for 2020, we hope to bring that out sometime later this spring, get back on track. So the 2019 report link, which is shown here, is the most recent bridge report. The reports are now online on our website. I have the link there on the bottom of the slide. You can go click that link and go straight to the report to find any of the information you'd be interested in, or you can go to the city DOT website and you can click there and find the bridges annual report there as well. Obviously, we stopped printing these in March, somewhere 8 or 10 years ago. We stopped printing them in hard copy. If there's some particular reason the board would like to have a hard copy, when our print shop is back up and running full time, we'll be able to print 1 or 2 copies for you and get them to you if that's something you think the board would really want to make use of. I think those are the 2 points I was asked about in the email was bridges in board 14 and the state of the annual report.
Okay, thank you. Joe, the co-chair, he's here now, so I'll turn it over to you, Joe.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Deborah. And thank you, Ms.
You're
Kidd.
welcome.
Thank you for your presentation and for giving us your time this evening. This Community Board 14 is particularly concerned about an area, but also a bridge over Newkirk Avenue. Newkirk Avenue is a east-west street, and it's parallel with Beverly, one of the streets you mentioned. And it goes over the subway.
UT.
Yeah, the subway. And it's a particular concern to us because no one, or at least no one, appears to claim an obligation for that bridge up till as we speak. And that's a sore spot for our neighborhood. Are you aware at all at Newkirk, the bridge? And it's, I don't know how much you know about our neighborhood where you live, but there's Newkirk Plaza is the Q and B subway stop. That's a very sore spot for us because no one has been claimed title or obligation to take care of the plaza. And so a lot of stuff that should go on there doesn't go on there. And we've wanted the DOT to designate it. I don't know, Sean, are you on? Yeah, designated as a plaza, and DOT has declined to do that. But nevertheless, the bridge itself, the sides of the bridge are sort of a mess. So I'm wondering if that at all is an item on your agenda,
So I can't say that I know the bridge as well as you do in your own community, but I do know it fairly well. We have been involved with the bridge for quite a long time. It's been in our capital program, and we had hoped actually to bring it along in this contract, in our component rehab contract. However, there are a number of very specific challenges with Newkirk, part of which is in the fact that the plaza, which has a much longer history, by the way, than I realized at first.
Yeah.
It goes back, I think, to, World War II. I really didn't realize.
Before that.
I have documents from 1890.
Yeah.
Okay, that far back, I didn't know. But one of the attorneys in our legal team actually is from your community and said, I'm not dating him at all, but he said he remembered it as a child and very familiar with the area. And so, yeah, there is a long convoluted process for any city agency to try to take ownership of that. And I can't even begin to speak to it. But the bridge is partially attached to the plaza, which does create an issue for us. But there is also an issue there, particular to Newkirk, of that water main that comes up through the deck and has the fence around it. And it creates specific challenges because of the really internecine relationship between the Transit Authority, DEP, and the bridge structure. And so we don't want to bring the project along to a point and hit an impasse where it sits then again for a very long time. The bridge engineers are concerned about it. They had identified this as well as Caton. We've actually taken a look. One of the things Commissioner Collier has an approach to is a bit of a more, it's not particularly community-based, but it is in essence a corridor-based for all the bridges that traverse over all the trains throughout, particularly throughout Brooklyn, but also extensively, we have extensive number of bridges in the Bronx that cross over both Amtrak, Metro North. More in Brooklyn, we have City Subway and Long Island Railroad. And so what we've done is we've taken a look at Newkirk, Caton, Church, all the East 18th Street, all of them all the way down are of the same general vintage. So we are aware of this kind of particular situation with Newkirk that does need to be addressed. But we also have a little bit of a different issue. As you can see, the ones that are here that have been brought along in this contract all pass over the Long Island Railroad. Whenever we need to work on a bridge over a railroad, we need what's called a force account. And what the force account is the mechanism by which we reimburse the railroad for track services. So we're not allowed to enter upon the tracks without the presence of the particular railroad's track management team. And so the force account is the means by which we pay them for those services. So the force accounts are negotiated, unfortunately, not by one entity, because even though it's all under the umbrella of the MTA, they are different legal entities. So we were able of late to renew our force account boilerplate contracts with New York Atlantic, Long Island Railroad, and Metro North. Unfortunately, Amtrak is another kettle of fish, very difficult group to work with. We're still trying to work with them. But New York City Transit has presented a particular problem in the renegotiation of our standing force account for any work over city subway. And at present, we do not have an active contract with them. So the bridges that were projected to be included in this contract, particularly which were Newkirk and Caton, I believe, both had to step out. They'll be in the next contract. And these were the ones we were able to bring along because we just signed the agreement with Long Island Railroad, I think last month. So we're continuing the issues. As I said, Newkirk is loaded with issues.
Yeah.
I've recommended to my boss that I think Newkirk needs to be a standalone project so that it can really get into clearing up these issues and not be part of a 6 or 8 bridge contract. I really think it needs to stand alone and have all of its issues cleaned up all at one time.
Well, thank you for explaining all of that, and thank you for that consideration. Yeah, somewhere down the road we will straighten out Newkirk Plaza, God willing. You know, that's new mayor. You know, we'll bird dog some new mayor candidate and corner him. You know, or her. So anyway,
Joel, may I jump in here?
absolutely.
Thank you. So, and I want to also thank you, Jonine, because and just offer anything we can do to facilitate additional focus on Newkirk. We are kind of talking about a few different things. The Newkirk road bridge that cars, you know, drive over when they go over the Brighton line, and then the plaza itself that's connected to that. The road bridge, I know that you've identified conditions there, and then the surface road on that bridge is also in disrepair. So I would be really happy to facilitate some focus in that area and continue that conversation. But I wonder if you could this evening, you mentioned that there are biannual checks on road bridges, and that if I recall correctly, if you identify a condition or a flag on a bridge, does that then expedite the time within which you re-inspect the bridge?
Yes and no. I don't have it in front of me to call up, but from the last time I came out and chatted with you, I had a little more extensive conversation about flags. So a flag is not a flag is not a flag. There are gradations of flags. There are yellow flags, which can be something as simple as a broken light bulb or a handrail that's broken. Then we have a safety flag, I'm sorry, is the minimum one, like a pothole or a broken flag on a sidewalk. Then we have a yellow flag, which is something that's a little more important, a failing joint or something. Then we have red flags, which are structural defects. And then we also have what are called PIAs, which is positive interim action. And a PIA flag is a defect that's been identified at a bridge that needs to be addressed within 48 hours. And those are places where, unfortunately, something really unexpected has happened. A joint failed, and we've got to close a lane until we can get a crew out there to replace a joint, or we've had an entire sidewalk flag collapse, and we've got to close the sidewalk down or something. So what happens with the flags is, as the flags are issued, they're either dealt with by our in-house team, which is our maintenance, inspection, and operation group. And in there we have cement masons, carpenters, iron workers, we have lathers, we have a massive amount of tradespeople who can go out, and they're very creative, and they can deal with flags that they can deal with. And that's our in-house team that does that through our expense budget. We then also have contracts that are called when and where, and those are also expense budget funded. And those flags go to them for trades that we don't have. If there's some particular defect that our own in-house team cannot address for whatever reason, the flag goes to the when and where contractor, and the when and where contractor, I'm sorry, Can the person who's typing possibly mute? Thank you. So the flags that we can't repair in-house go to the when and where contractor. The contractor will make those repairs. Flags that are more serious are essentially put into our bridge folder. And then if they are more serious, we will bring in an emergency contract if we need to address them. But the safety flags and the yellow flags, they'll try to deal with them. And then over time, the flags do influence the rating. And the bridges are programmed into the capital program by rating. The rating system is 1 to 7, which I know is completely counterintuitive. When I joined DOT, I remember saying like, what, 1 to 7? Isn't it 1 to 10? Isn't it 1 to 100? No, it's 1 to 7. 1 being a bridge that's closed and not in use, 7 being a brand new bridge. Most of the bridges in New York City, again, you'll see it in the annual report. At this point, we do not have a single bridge that's rated poor, which would be 3 or lower. All of our bridges are either 3.5 to 5, which is the middle window, and they're all considered in a state of good repair. The plan we have for our bridges is to bring them into the capital program as the ratings begin to decline, and they decline at a rate of about 0.1 every year. And so as they approach a rating of 4.5, we try to start to bring them into the capital plan so that construction is occurring no later than the bridge reaching 3.5. So it was a little bit of a long-winded answer, but I hope that all makes sense.
No, I totally appreciate that detail, and I just wanted it out there because some of our board members and members of the public had expressed some concern when a bridge was identified with some issues was the road. It was blocked off to some traffic and parking, and then that was fixed, but the bridge itself hasn't been reconstructed. So there was a concern, you know, the question was, well, is it still safe to drive? And I said, yes, because as soon as they identify something, they have to go back and check again and make sure it maintains its integrity. So thank you for the detailed answer. I think it's helpful.
Great. So yeah, with Beverly, that's a perfect example of some conditions were identified. We had to close the lane. Our in-house team did the repairs they were capable of doing, and then the repairs that they could not do was sent to a when and where interim contractor. But yes, you hit the critical nail on the head. There is nothing that is open that is not safe. That's, you know, every engineer that we have takes an oath of public safety first, so it wouldn't be open if it wasn't safe. But yes, we know Beverly has also the same condition of us not having the Transit Authority force account to get down there and do the next piece of the design work, which is actually an in-depth inspection, which is done by the design firm that's hired to begin the design process. And so the next step will be to get started on that in-depth inspection to get down there. And of course, Beverly has that lovely building that's sitting on our station that we have to work with Transit Authority about figuring out how we're going to deal with that bridge with their structure sitting on top of it. It's going to be quite a challenging but interesting project.
Great, thank you. Joel, you need to unmute, Joel. I think you're speaking.
Can we get Ms. Kidder's slide presentation? Can we get a PDF of that?
Yeah, Sean has it.
We have it, we'll post it.
Okay,
And just in case anyone's curious, the link is also posted in the chat, so you can just hop right on that way.
okay, cool. Thank you.
And so I'll just leave you with my little happy note that we've finished the bulk of the work that we started to do on the Belt Parkway. The communities out in South Brooklyn were very patient. They worked with us over a long period of time. As you know, 6 of the 7 bridges in the original contract are now finished. Fresh Creek, Rockaway Parkway, Pattaget, Mill Basin, Gerritsen, and Bay Ridge Avenue. Collectively, those 6 bridges represent just under $1 billion capital investment in the Belt Parkway. And we are continuing to work towards bringing along the next group of bridges that we hope to come back and talk to all of South Brooklyn about coming forward, which will be Bedford, Ocean, Notion, and Sheepshead Bay Road. Those bridges are being planned into the capital program next, and we hope to begin the next phase of our huge effort to address the bridges on the Belt Parkway.
Cool.
I don't know if the co-chairs can see, there are a couple hands raised. Greg,
Okay.
Perez and Stevie, both have hands up.
Who has it? Who's the first one you mentioned?
Greg.
Greg Alvarez. Greg, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, thank you for your presentation, very informative. Just real quick back to Newkirk Plaza, because I had sort of looked at some of the materials that we have on file regarding the thorny history of the plaza. And you had mentioned that there are folks on your legal team that have been looking at sort of the thorny interdepartmental issues with that. Would there be any way to have a contact with them just to talk a little bit more and talk about the issues that are being dealt with? I think the water main was mentioned, and the issues with the bridge. You know, that might help us as well in terms of sort of getting to the bottom of this whole question of the plaza itself. So I was just asking to see if that might be possible to speak with one of your legal contacts.
My initial answer is yes, but I will punt to my colleague in the Brooklyn office and suggest that Claudette and I follow up on that for you with the DOT legal team and get back to you on what they might be able to do. Again, so the attorney that I spoke with about this, which was quite a while ago, was actually somebody from your community, so knew it very well, you know, clearly understood what, you know, was going on. I'm not sure that helps making unwinding the spaghetti of legal issues any easier, but the familiarity is the first step.
Exactly. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Very good. Steve, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, just real quick, I wanted to clarify in the presentation under the Beverly Road Bridge, it said, and I think you mentioned like a 2029 completion date. I was just curious if that meant, is that taking into account the delay because of COVID, or was that the originally projected date and now it's going to be sometime further in the future?
No, this is what we project now to be the new schedule.
Thanks.
Okay. I think we now, does anybody else have anything else for Ms. Kidder?
Okay, then I will take the opportunity to apologize again to my colleague, Dan Wagner, who is patiently waiting, who I stepped in front of as well at another meeting at a community board in Manhattan.
So he's used to it.
He patiently let Bridges go first. So Dan, thank you very much for that. And Sean, you and Claudette and I guess will follow up in the next couple of days.
Sounds great. It was really nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.
Deborah, you want to announce our next guest?
Okay, Daniel Wagner is here from part of transit, right? So you can go ahead, Daniel.
Hi, yes, my name is Daniel Wagner. I am Assistant Director with the Pedestrian Unit for DOT, and I'm actually going to introduce my colleagues. We have Inessa Lipsky, David Zhang, and Preston Johnson. Preston's with the Bicycle Unit, in case there's any questions about the adjacent Parkside project, but we're here to present to you a proposal for Park Circle. I'm going to let David take it away.
Parks.
Hi there. I'm the traffic engineer for the pedestrian unit here at New York City DOT. I'll be presenting. I need permissions to share my screen here.
Sorry, just give me one moment. I'll get you set up. Oh, and I'm sorry, who wants to share the screen? It's David or Preston?
It's me.
Okay, so Daniel, you're the one who wants to share your screen?
No, David Zhang.
I'm not seeing, oh, David.
Okay,
You got it, David?
just got permissions. Thank you. Okay. So again, I'm David Shung, the traffic engineer for the pedestrian unit at New York City DOT. We're here to propose improvements to Park Circle. So before I discuss the proposal, I want to provide some background information. Park Circle lies between three boundaries. CB7 to the west, CB14 to the southeast, and Prospect Park to the northeast. Sorry. It's a location we've paid close attention to throughout the years. In 2009, concrete pedestrian islands, painted curb extensions, and bike lanes were installed. In 2017, the Prospect Park entrance was closed to public vehicles. In 2018, we converted that entrance to a shared space. And in 2019, signal timing throughout the neighborhood was optimized for better traffic progression. And in this current year, protected bike lanes are scheduled to be installed along Fort Hamilton Parkway and Parkside Avenue. What this project aims to address is an FDNY concern to improve movement of their emergency vehicles through the circle. And we're proposing to do this by improving the traffic flow of Park Circle in general, and also by reducing chances of vehicle collisions through our design. This is a high vehicle crash location, mainly due to rear ends and side swipes. Luckily, there have been no fatalities. However, there have been a few severe injuries. Now I want to go through the conditions in the circle's current state to explain the underlying issues. Firstly, there's a lack of clarity regarding which lanes lead to exits. There are currently no arrow markings on the ground that points towards the exits right now. If you see in the circle, this is north of the circle going towards Fort Hamilton Parkway and Ocean Parkway. Most cars are using this red arrow path to exit. But if you look closely, it's actually the green arrow path lane that is the correct lane to exit. This is not immediately apparent unless you look from above and you realize that the red arrow does not lead towards the exit, and it's the green right here. Next, vehicles are required to merge into the outside lanes in order to exit, and this can lead to sideswipe collisions. Only the green arrow paths lead out, and any vehicles on the red paths must merge onto the green paths in order to exit. The inner two lanes in red, they only go around and around the circle, which kind of leaves them undesirable to be in. And in essence, every car wants to be on the outside lane, and you only want to be on the inner lane for a short amount of time. So in the photo, you can see that pattern exhibited here. The pickup truck here is in the inner lane and is getting ready to merge outward towards the exit. Thirdly, vehicles often make multi-lane merges from the underused inner lanes, and this leads to exiting vehicles blocking other movements. So at most times, these inner lanes, they're unoccupied because, like I said before, they only go around the circle. This creates a situation where a car will enter the inner lane and want to pretty much cut the line in order to exit. This is where most crashes occur. So 12% of exiting vehicles going towards Fort Hamilton and Ocean Parkway take that route and cut across 3 lanes. And similarly, 16% in the south cut across 3 lanes in order to exit. And you can see in this photo that SUV is alone in that lane and is getting ready to slip in. Next, I want to show you the traffic pattern that's we typically see here at busy times. Cars are almost never in their proper lanes as they queue to exit, and they're often on top of other lanes. Again, they also do these sudden multi-lane merges from the inner lanes, and this often causes the car in yellow that wants to continue through the circle being blocked by these queuing cars. And all these reasons lead to the congestion that we often see here. Now I want to show you what we're proposing to do to address this. This project will be constructed through our in-house program by DOT staff. It consists of the following options in our in-house toolkit, which are exclusive turn lanes, quick curb, which are the vertical plastic barriers here, destination signs, and arrow markings. Going into our design, our major change is to reconfigure the lanes so that all lanes lead to an eventual exit. The inner lanes no longer go continuously around the circle, so they serve more of a purpose. And now it also reduces lane changes, which is a major cause of crashes here. It also creates shorter queue lengths by better dividing traffic between the lanes. Second, we're proposing to increase the markings and signage to guide vehicles to the correct lane and exit. So as you saw before, there were no arrow markings throughout the circle. We're proposing to increase that dramatically. And it informs drivers to know where to be much more in advance. And by doing that, we can balance the cars in each lane so that it prevents vehicles from wanting to go one direction from blocking a vehicle that wants to go another direction. Third, we're proposing to install quick curb near major exits to prevent those vehicles from performing multi-lane merges. It enforces vehicles to go into the correct lane and again reduces merges and prevents crashes. Now I want to show you how cars will queue in this new design compared to the existing. So I've shown you this before, and just note that the number of cars in each diagram are exactly the same. So we're no longer seeing that the cars continuing through the circle are being blocked. And the quick curb enforces cars to line up properly and move them to the outward lanes. Lastly, I want to analyze a major existing route taken through the circle and see how it compares to this new design. A huge portion of cars throughout the day drive into the circle at Coney Island Avenue and exit at Fort Hamilton Parkway. So, following the red path, we enter the inner lane because we see it's mostly empty, and we know we're going to be in the circle for a while as we're exiting on the last exit.
Excuse me, Joel, see, I don't mean to interrupt you, but do you mean coming into Coney Island from Coney Island and going to the highway, not Fort Hamilton, going into a lot of cars go from Coney Island Avenue around the circle and into the highway.
I believe that's the exit above it, right?
The highway is when you come around the circle, 3/4 of the way around the circle, you go to the right to go to the highway. To go to Fort Hamilton, slightly to the left.
Yes, yes.
I think a lot of those cars from Coney Island are going to the highway.
Okay.
Right.
Well, there's actually a high volume of both, but in this example, we're showing for Hamilton.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Joe. But I just want to explain that if you were to take this route, most people will want to be in the inner lane because you're going to be taking the last exit. And as you continue and you see for Hamilton within your sights, you realize that you need to merge between the 3 lanes. So in the proposal, if we want to do the same movement and we start at the same location, we enter the inner lane again for the same logic. And then as we continue, we see that the lanes split into 2. One continues through the circle, and the other also continues through the circle and also leads outwards. So if we were to choose that middle lane and continue, it leads directly towards Fort Hamilton. And so in essence, we've gone from 3 potential merges to 0. And this is only one example. There's a lot of other major movements in this circle that are optimized like this. And just in general, a lot less merges will occur here. So in summary, we're shifting lanes towards the throughout the circle towards the exits. We're installing buffers between the lanes around the circle and lanes exiting to Parkside Ave and Ocean Parkway. And we're installing additional signage to guide vehicles. And the benefits are that we're making simpler, safer vehicular movements. We're reducing weaving for vehicles exiting the circle, and we're improving vehicular movement. So any questions?
Joel, we do have some hands raised. We have Greg Alvarez, Joanne Brown, and Steve Cohen. Joel, you need to unmute and then remute when you're not speaking.
You keep getting muted.
Yeah, because you have to turn yourself off in between, just so there's no feedback. Thanks.
Okay, all right, sorry. So Deborah has her hand up. Deborah?
Yeah, I always drive this circle, and I always get confused when I come towards the Prospect Park West exit, and I feel like the sidewalk here is out too much. It could have been a little pushed back a little bit, because once you come around from, say I'm coming from Coney Island Avenue, and I'm coming around, you get a little congested here before you go to Parkside exit. And then when you turn to go, and then it's a kind of little funny corner trying to get to Prospect Park Southwest. So
Yes.
is there anything that can be done to alleviate that little stress in that little space right there?
Okay, so what you're probably experiencing as you're coming from Coney Island Avenue is you're entering the inner lane here, and then you're getting blocked by these cars trying to exit at Parkside Avenue.
No,
right?
no, it's not necessary. I'm not being blocked. It's just the way the side of the road is situated. It's like you go in and then have to come back out to go back out.
I think part of the problem, maybe this is it, Deborah, maybe you'll agree with this, is when you're trying to get to Park Slope via Prospect Park Southwest, you're blocked by cars that want to go around either to the highway or to Fort Hamilton or back around to Coney Island. You're blocked by those cars, and the sequencing of the lights creates congestion there of everybody.
No, it's
Okay, I'm
no,
sorry.
it's not the congestion. I think it's the piece of the sidewalk or the buffer, wherever you might call. it that you sort of have to try to position your car out like here. I don't know if you can see.
Do you mean
my,
the
thing.
small pedestrian island that's in between?
Yes.
crossing over the two directions? I think it's
So
the
it's-
pedestrian island.
It's like that space in between there
It's small.
is awkward. Yeah.
I just would like to add, based on a new plan, how you can see, it's a new configuration of lane and navigation for driver. Everybody from the Coney Island will keep this direction and go straight to Prospect West. So
Southwest.
it will be much easier with new navigation of marking and new configuration of lanes.
Okay.
So what you're saying is that it's not finished yet? Because I drive that road on a
No.
everyday basis. So I don't know if are you going to change it or?
Yes,
me
you
try
see
to-
the, okay, I'm sorry, David, yes.
I think what's happening is that you're entering in, right? And as you enter in, you have to merge across.
Yeah, and I get that because I've been doing this for years. I'm a
Mhm.
Brooklynite from ever, from the time I was driving when I was 16. So I know I'm familiar with the circle itself.
Yeah.
But
So
what I'm saying to you is that corner where you have the piece that
Right here,
sticks
right?
out before you can turn to go up towards Prospect Park Southwest. It's kind of awkward there.
yeah, I see what you mean because you're mostly merging across, and so you're meant to be on this lane as you exit. And,
Yeah, and I
because
stay on the lane all the way over. I don't
oh, you are,
usually when I get there, it's not traffic backing up. Like say the
Yeah.
traffic that's going to Parkside, that traffic doesn't bother me. It's the road, the way the road is positioned to make the right onto Prospect Park Southwest.
so
Yes,
you are
yep.
already on the outside lane and you're entering. You're not.
Yeah,
coming
but
from
this
the-
new navigation of marking will help not only you, it's the other drivers who making left to continue in the circle. That's why it will give you more possibility to moving on your direction without any interruption. And this is our proposal. We show to you existing drawing and proposal how it should be after we will complete our project.
So I thought it was finished already. So I'll
No,
look at
no,
it the next time I go. Okay.
no.
So- Okay, Greg, did you want to ask something?
Yeah, just a quick question regarding the southbound approach to Coney Island Avenue. Are there any improvements proposed there? Because I see definitely the benefits and what you're trying to do, and there might not just be an option right there because of the inflow from Ocean Parkway, but it looks like, in terms of how that particular approach out of the circle works, it looks like it's pretty much going to be the same.
So what we have to realize here is that this is just a section of how traffic will behave. So you can imagine that there's more than one yellow car. There's a lot of them coming, right? And some of those yellow cars are exiting towards Coney Island Avenue. And so it kind of knots itself together because it is a circle. And so if we improve the traffic flow of these major exits, most people are leaving both here and here. It will kind of unclog itself so that people exiting at Coney Island Avenue are not blocked so much by these queuing cars.
Yeah, I think that's the hope. I was just wondering if there were any other measures that were thought about as part of that approach.
Well, another thing is that there is existing 2 lanes that exit, but if you follow this lane on the outside, almost nobody uses it. Now, it's more natural that these 2 lanes exit. So there's less shifting around.
Wait a second. Are you talking about the far right lane from where the exit to Fort Hamilton to the exit to Coney Island Avenue to head south? you're saying that lane is not used?
Well, what you often see is people cutting across here.
That is a particularly, in the end of the day, that is a particularly tough section because there are people that are trying to come around to continue around the circle, and then there are people who are trying to get onto Coney Island Avenue, and then there are people that are coming off of that Ocean Parkway thing. It gets very congested over there, right by that Ocean Parkway exit there into the circle. It gets immensely. It's maddening over in that section at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you, Joel.
Right.
So what happens is where there is space, there's going to be a car there when it's congested. So.
And by the way, I think part of the equation there is the sequencing of the lights. Because if you're, and I have a car, but I'm also a bicyclist, because I'm going to ask you something about that. But if you're coming out of Prospect Park Southwest, as sometimes I do, I come from Park Slope, I come down Prospect Park Southwest, and I head counterclockwise around the circle. And then when you get to, unless you're at the very beginning of the light at Prospect Park Southwest, if you're anywhere in the middle of a cycle and you get to the entrance to Coney Island Avenue, the light turns red and then it gets all clogged up. So, I don't know if you can sequence the lights. It's not always, easy, but I think that's part of the problem there, my opinion.
I agree.
Quickly, I just want to quickly and politely as I can remind the co-chairs that there are several hands up and it's almost 7:30 and there is another presenter.
Okay, all right. So let's get on to Joanne. We don't want to prevent her from speaking.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much. And David and Anessa, thank you so much for your presentation. I appreciate the fact that we get to look at this as a community board because the community has a lot of experience with this Rotary, because that's what it is. And we have some real practical information to provide for you. So my only inference that I wanted to add was the fact that I think just like Grand Army Circle or Grand Army Rotary, there are some distinctive lanes where drivers are directed to. For example, if you're going to Eastern Parkway, it says Eastern Parkway. If you're going to Flatbush Avenue, it says Flatbush Avenue. So I'm only going by the graphic that you provided, which was we saw a right turn, left turn, straight ahead. But my recommendation is that in the lanes that are exiting, exit 1 going to Prospect Park Southwest, it says Prospect Park Southwest. If you're exiting to go to Ocean Parkway, that it says exit to Ocean Parkway on the lane as you're approaching. If you're going to Fort Hamilton Parkway, the lane says exiting to, on the actual asphalt, it says exiting to Ocean Parkway, so on and so forth, going all the way down the line to Coney Island Avenue. So that's what I have to offer. Thank you.
Really, what part of what Joanne's saying, this is Joel, is signage is really important, and I hear that that's part of your plan here, is signage. Because if you are from Nebraska and you come into this circle, you'd be lost. So.
We will take your comments for consideration. Absolutely right.
Yeah, I can I jump in? The mark, we can take the idea of putting the markings on the ground for the lanes back to our markings team, and we can definitely see if we can incorporate that. And the signage is a part of this proposal. It's not presented to you here because we're still working on it, but we're going to do our absolute best to make sure it is as clear as possible. I do want to jump in with one other quick point. Our proposal here, we know that there's a lot of traffic in Park Circle, and we aren't trying to sell to you that we're going to make it all perfect when it's done. We're trying to improve what we have here. So please consider this an improvement rather, it's a step in the right direction rather than you're going to have utopia when we're done. It's still going to be some congestion going towards Coney Island Avenue. There's still going to be traffic in the circle.
All right. Lastly, Steve, you want to ask something?
Yeah, well, first comment, I'm very glad that DOT is taking interest in this. I've always thought there could be there was room for improvement, and I think the ideas here look very strong. I guess my main question was, what are the next steps? What's the timeline for implementation? Like where do you go from here?
So we're hoping to implement this actually this year, I believe, along with the bike lane project that's happening along Parkside Avenue and Fort Hamilton Parkway.
Okay, we also have Nina. Nina wants to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, so first of all, I wanted to say to Deborah that those bump outs in the sidewalk are there intentionally to slow traffic. So they are doing their job if they're slowing you down. That's number one. They offer protection for pedestrians and bike riders who are in that area. The other thing is, I would really like if the DOT would stop using those stupid plastic bollards, because the big trucks come roaring through and they just run them over, and you can see them scattered and torn out all over Coney Island Ave. So could you use something a little more permanent instead of the plastic bollards?
So the ones that are proposed in this project are our most heavy duty ones. You know, there are a variety, and some of the ones you're seeing might be some of the lighter duty ones. We do hope that these will last.
Plus, we need to pay attention also on the emergency vehicles, which sometimes have to be more flexible in the road. So we cannot install something permanent in this point of view also.
And if
Thank
the
you.
co-chairs want to take one more question, we have a member of the public,
Elizabeth.
hands up.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Denny's. I live actually just a few blocks south of this intersection. And one of the things that I've always been like, I'm primarily a pedestrian, and I always notice that cars, because of the timing of the signal, it signals between the different entrances and exits, are often kind of like just barely getting through the intersection or pushing just past the red light, or it's one of the places where the pedestrian signal will often turn to "you can cross now," but I feel like I always have to triple check, a lot more than usual to make sure that that's actually true. And I was just wondering if you could speak to how this changing of the traffic pattern would affect and hopefully make it safer for pedestrians navigating this circle. It's a very popular entrance to the park, especially for our neighborhood. And I just want to make sure that I know a lot of traffic calming measures exist already, but I just want to make sure that it feels like something that is going to only improve those traffic calming measures.
Yes.
I'm sorry, which intersection you're talking about? Which crosswalk you mentioned?
I think in general, but it's especially the southern part where people are trying to get onto Coney Island Avenue, or the eastern part where people are trying to get onto Parkside. It feels like one of the intersections where people are, I'm not saying people are necessarily running red lights, but there's a lot of backup within the pedestrian crossing areas that you have to wait to clear sometimes. And it's not every time that I cross, but it's just something I've noticed that, some intersections, when the pedestrian signal goes, you're like, this is almost certainly fine, and I don't have to keep checking both ways. And this is not one of those intersections in my experience. And so I was just wondering if this is going to, it seems like this will streamline cars getting through it, which seems useful for, minimizing crashes within cars. But I also just, and want to be cautious and make sure that this isn't going, to me, I worry when I hear about cars being able to go through something faster. It sounds to me like cars might be less aware, it might be easier for them to be less aware of pedestrians at the end of the circle or something like that. And hopefully that's a misfounded opinion, but I just want to I just want to know how this will affect, how this is supposed to affect the crossings between pedestrians and cars here.
Yeah, so we're not improving any signals directly, but in streamlining those cars, we're offering less stress towards the drivers, and so they feel less obligated to speed through the light, it should be a more organized movement.
You know what, we analyzed this area many years, and I remember those times when we first make this new crosswalk from the west side of the circle, crossing the Fort Hamilton Service Road in Coney Island. It wasn't crosswalk at all, if you remember. And we try the best from the beginning for pedestrians to be safe in this area. And majority of the crossing area is very short, and it's based on a signal. They fit all standards for flashing and crossing time. So we will continue monitoring this situation, but unfortunately, nothing we observe so threat for pedestrian at this point.
So if I can question Joel and Deborah, in the interest of time, I'm wondering if we could invite this team back once, because I know that you also have input from CB7, and I appreciate that you noted that you would take some of tonight's suggestions into account. And so I'm wondering if there'll be another iteration, if this is just a draft, and if you could come back when it's in its final phase to share it with the community again. And then we could get Preston, who's been patiently with us here tonight, to talk about how it harmonizes with the bike lanes that will be installed on Parkside.
That's fine, Sean. We can do that.
Would DOT be willing to come back when this project unfolds further?
I guess the question is, in what manner do you want us to, while we're implementing it, or what do you? I'm a little confused.
Before you install it,
You want to come back and give the presentation again before we install it?
Just an update.
Preston, are you online?
So then please, next time, give us more time to complete it in the same meeting.
Yeah, we can, we're happy to come back if that's what you require.
If the chairs would prefer to continue, then go ahead. If there's more, that's fine. I was just making a suggestion. You don't have to take me up on it.
We have another speaker, so we don't want to make that person wait. We appreciate your presentation, and we appreciate all your hard work to make this very, very difficult traffic area. It's work. It's very, very difficult. It's a high traffic area, and it was made even more high traffic by the limitation of cars in the park. And if you can make it work, God bless you. So that's what I say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're trying.
Right. So, all right. Well, we can ask you back, if you want to come back and tell us, if you refined the project, and just before you, when do you plan on implementing it?
This year, along with the bike lanes.
Okay.
Along Parkside Avenue.
All right. So we're 1/6 the way already through the year. So you got 5/6 left.
Just to be clear, our implementation season actually doesn't start until April. It's just too cold, too much snow, too many challenges in March. So I was hoping Preston would be able to chime in and be able to give you a direct answer, but I think it's a springtime implementation. So spring or early summer.
Spring is 18 days away.
Well, again, we're not going to start anything until April, or April or May. Maybe May. I Preston will definitely know more.
Okay.
Yeah, springtime.
Springtime. Yeah.
Okay, I think we're going to move on to the next speaker.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Go ahead.
do move on to the next speaker, this is somewhat awkward timing, but I do want to recognize that Detective Scott Nosey from the 7-0 is with us. But even I'm even more, well, I shouldn't say more eager, but I'm also eager to note that Brian Williams, who is Community Board 14's new community assistant, this is his first day. It's kind of almost, Brian, your first hour. I just want to thank Brian for taking time out and jumping in with us on this meeting, and welcome him to the community board, and just introduce him to you all.
Hello, Brian. Hello, Brian. Let's see you.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for the introduction. Pleasure to be working with the community board. Definitely enjoyed the meeting. Very powerful conversation and dialogue. So thank you all.
Thanks, Brian. Sorry for my awkward timing, and thank you to Transit for hanging in there with us. So if the co-chairs want to turn it back over to my good friend Andy Eaglesby and his team, we'd love to hear from you.
Andy, are you with us?
I was waiting for an introduction from the chairs, but I can certainly jump in. Thanks.
All right, good to see you.
Andy,
Good to see you.
Andy wanted his drum roll.
So first and foremost, greetings from New York City Transit. I hope everyone is continuing to be well and safe during these troubling times. So troubling, but hopefully improving. So we just want to say, Sean and Anya, it's always great to see you, and it's great to be before the committee. It's been this might be the first time since the pandemic that I've been back to you guys. So as I said, hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. I'm joined by my colleague Raj Shah, who is the construction manager for the Avenue H ADA project. That's one of the projects that we want to update you guys on. So currently there are two major capital projects going on within CB14. The first one is the Culver Line Signal Modernization Project, which, as you guys know, has been going on since 2020. We are continuing that throughout the course of 2021. It will extend into 2022. As you guys know, this project has been taking place on the weekends. There are 3 weekends between now and August, and I'm saying August because that's the time parameter where we've shared the weekend schedules with you guys so far. And then once we get closer to August, we'll let you guys know more of the future schedule. But between now and August, there are really only 3 weekends that we will not be working. Those are a Passover weekend, Easter weekend, and the weekend of the 4th of July. Every other weekend, you will be seeing the same service that you've been seeing since last year, which is no F service starting about 9:45 p.m. on Friday nights, going till 5 a.m. on the following Monday. And we're directing our customers to the D, the N, or the Q line via either walking or buses. And those are the existing permanent transit buses. There are no shuttle buses for this project. So as I said, this is where we're modernizing a 70-year-old signal system, and it's a $253 million project that we're investing in. So I know that CB14 obviously is part of the line. It continues into southern Brooklyn, so we're excited. This is going to be the third or fourth line that will get the communications-based train control signal system. So we're excited to work with the community, and we thank you for your patience, and we will get this done. And the F ultimately will be a much more efficient and reliable line for everyone who takes it. So that's the Culver line. The other big capital project that we're doing, as you guys know, it's right around the corner from the office, It's the station that you guys call home. It's the Avenue H Brighton Line station. We are currently making the entire station ADA accessible by installing a ramp to the northbound platform. As you guys know, the southbound platform is already ADA accessible. We're putting in a similar ramp on the northbound platform, and we started last year, and we are looking to complete that project by late spring, early summer this year. So we're excited that we're getting this done in the middle of the pandemic, but Raj and his team are really working hard to get that, and we are currently on schedule. When we started in the summer last year, we said that we're looking to do it. Actually, we started in the fall, and we said we're on a short track for this project, and we're looking to get it done in late spring, early summer, and we're still on schedule for that. So that's a quick update regarding these two big projects. We'll be more than happy to take any questions as always.
Andy, this is Joel. I missed it, I guess. When is the Culver Line signal project due to be finished? This year?
We're looking to finish it up in early to mid 2022.
Okay, so we got more than a year to go.
It started last year, and it's a big project. It's current. It covers all of the F line between Church Avenue and Coney Island Stillwell. So we should be finished. We're scheduled to be finished with it in early to mid 2022.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Anybody got any questions for Andy? I don't see any hands. Come on, somebody's got a question.
The other thing I wanted to mention is, as you guys know, as far as COVID is concerned, we recently extended the hours of the subway operation from instead of 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., which we had been running since May, we extended it now, so the subway is open all hours except from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. So we added 2 hours of service, and we've been saying that we're going to be doing that because we need to clean the system. For those people that are riding the system, first of all, thank you. And if you guys have noticed, we've been doing some deep cleaning. The system is clean 24 hours a day, but as far as the deep cleaning that we've been doing since May, that is now being done from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. instead of 1 a.m. to 5 a.m.
Thank you for that.
The other thing, COVID related, is that I know that I've been sending emails to the community board, to Sean and Anya regarding, and Brian, welcome. You'll be seeing a lot of emails from me, I'm sure. But we've been doing Mask Force since July of last year, and we want to thank the community board for helping us to spread the word. We have a mask compliance rating of about 97-98% on the subway, similar on the buses. So we've really been trying to get out the word that it is mandatory for people to wear masks when they're riding the subways and the buses. So it's been going pretty well, and we thank the community for your support in getting out the word.
Welcome. Always happy to help. I have a question about the accessibility ramps in the Avenue H station, and whether there's going to be any impact on the arrangement of the art installations on the outside of the station.
No, it will be restored as it is, same condition. We are fixing the sidewalk and all that, so it will be removed and put it back, when we do that work. But we are not disturbing. And Andy, you want to mention about we have bypass geos coming sometime in March 22nd.
Yeah,
for 3 weeks, so there will not be
as part of the Avenue H entire project. And Sean, I know that I sent you an email about this in January. We do have a 3-week bypass of the Avenue H station coming up. It was originally supposed to be March 15th to April 5th, but we've learned that we're going to take another week. It's actually going to be starting in March, on March 22nd, and then just go to, it's still going to be 3 weeks, but it's going to go until April 12th. So I'll update the community board with that information. But that's really the only major service diversion for this project. It's a 3-week northbound bypass of H. And that's going to, as I said, that's going to be starting on March 22nd, Monday, March 22nd.
Okay, as soon as we get the update, we'll share it with the community.
That's great.
All right. I don't see any more hands. Sean, you have anything to add? Thank you for helping us lead this meeting.
Okay.
Oh, wait. So unless anybody has anything else, I guess it's time to adjourn. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Okay, somebody second.
I second it.
Okay, so thank you, everybody. This was an extremely informative meeting. We got a
Great meeting.
pile of information tonight.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much, Sean.
yes,
You're
thanks.
always so great.
Excellent meeting, Brian, welcome.
Yeah, thanks goes to Anya for setting it up and being on the test. If once you take a look at the presentation, and I'm sorry I jumped in maybe before I should have, but once you look at the DOT presentation, especially on the circle, because there's a lot there, if you have additional comments, just get them to the office and then I will relay them to DOT for their consideration.
And thank you, Detective Scott Nuzzi, for chiming in here.
And we thank you.
From wherever you are, an exotic location there with the palm tree.
And Scott and Andy, I hopefully will see you at District Service Cabinet tomorrow. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Be well, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Have a good night.
You too.